Welcome to I Wrote That, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are navigating the crazy world of authorship. Whether you're just starting out or already established, we want to help you navigate the publishing world with confidence. My name is Larissa Sohan, and this channel is brought to you by Next Page Publishing. With the help of our industry partners, we bring you the insights on the most challenging, yet most rewarding parts of being an authorpreneur, along with the actionable tips to help you move your brand and your business forward. Don't forget to download your free copy of our book, Author Your Way to Your Next 100K, by visiting nextpagepublishing.net/author your way. Let's meet our next guest. Welcome back to I Wrote That. My name is Larissa Sohan, and I'm the CEO of Next Page Publishing, where we help entrepreneurs from all walks of life write their books so that they can grow their businesses and create a life that really supports why they started the business in the first place and move forward with being the CEO of the business, not the employee inside the business. Today, I'm really excited because this episode is a little bit about my guest and a little bit about me, which is super weird because we are talking about our upcoming book, or by the time this airs, our book that just came out, Look Up. And so today I have Dana Hughes. She is a soul coach, spiritual mentor, and certified end-of-life doula. She specializes in guiding individuals on their personal journeys of healing, awakening, and self-discovery. And I mean, there's more in her bio, but I feel like talking to her, you're going to get so much more. So welcome, Dana.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you and how I ended up bullying you into doing this book with me.
I think bullying is a harsh word, but I think at the beginning it didn't take a lot of convincing, that's for sure. I think the convincing came later once I realized what I was really in for. But hello, everybody. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Again, my name is Dana. I am a soul coach, and I've been doing this work for about the last 7 to 8 years of my life and evolving through it in many different eras. And I was connected with Larissa through my fantabulous cousin, who I will cherish till the day I die for this connection that brought us together. My daughter had just turned 1, and I got connected with Larissa, and she was like, I want to write a book about spirituality. And at first I was like, yes, let's go. Let's write a book. Let's do this. And then it became this really intimate project of us kind of sharing our stories in very different ways and showing this like parallel of our journeys, which is so exciting. But it was also a little vulnerable throughout places of the journey of wanting to go into a project as sort of the expert, as Larissa coined it at the beginning. And that already has enough weight as it is. And then realizing as the expert, I was going to be sharing a lot of my flaws and a lot of my mistakes because they are the most important parts of the learning journey and awakening journey, is the tough moments. So that was that was where the convincing, I think, took place, was after I realized we were kind of getting naked with the classroom while we were writing this book.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So to give like for those of you who are listening and you're like, what the heck are these two people talking about? Look Up is this beautiful amalgamation of two voices brought together. And so I went through will ever forever be going through this spiritual awakening. And I had so many questions, but the way I was raised, the world I grew up in, the media I was exposed to really made it feel very unsafe for me to want to ask questions. And I'd get into a room with some very spiritual people, and I still had these my own limiting beliefs that I was working through that stopped me from feeling like I could be a part of the conversation, or feeling like I wouldn't be judged for the things I had to say or the questions I had bubbling around in my head. And that's why when I went to my community and said, I want to work with the next Gabby Bernstein, Dana's cousin, who it just happens to be the COO of Next Page Publishing now, connected me with Dana. And, Dana's background is that spiritual coach, but I knew that I was going to need more thought into this coaching relationship. And because I'm a processor through words, I knew I was going to have to write it. And I was like, well, basically, if I'm going to be writing this already, why not turn it into a book? Because I'm willing to bet, if I have the question, 10 other people do too. And so the book Look Up is half of me telling stories and insane moments from my life, and then asking a question. And that's where Dana comes in, and she, steps up to that plate of expert, which is an impossible title to fill in this role, but you do it so well and answer those questions but through your own storytelling. And so you mentioned that it did get quite vulnerable in there and you weren't really expecting that. How did you handle that transition from, okay, I'm just here to provide answers, to, oh, wait, no, I'm actually going to be a part of this book?
Yeah, I think that it was a realization that kind of happened, and then I realized it later because I write about this in the intro of really wanting to put on a good face and really wanting to represent not only myself, but, Angelic Healing's brand well. And that was happening. But at the same time, I have a high level of responsibility in my work, and knowing that not only was your journey weighted into our project, but a lot of people's journey when they're going to be reading this book. So as much as I really wanted to come off like this incredibly polished, perfect, enlightened, spiritual individual, I kind of realized in the writing process that that's not what's going to happen here. And that's kind of the vulnerable part of the work that I do, is really being honest about what it takes to get to this level of growth. And it's a lot of mistakes. It's a lot of mess ups. It's a lot of self-doubt. It's a lot of moments of floundering trust in the universe and ourselves, in what's happening to us. There's moments where there's things happening around us and coming from within us. And so it would be, how I really dealt with that was taking some serious time to acknowledge a thought I was already aware of, but that it's such a disservice to pretend that I got here skipping through the meadow. It was wonderful. It was great. There was rainbows and sunshine everywhere. Because then people look at that and they are not in that place in their journey. And, we're talking about a lot of the moments that you were not in the place in that part of your journey, that they say, well, I must be doing something wrong because this is hard. This is horrible. I'm crying every day. What do you mean this is fantastic? And so kind of alluding to the fact that that wasn't a part of my journey is so dishonest. So there's no way for me to guide without being honest about what sometimes we're guiding through.
And I think you do such a wonderful job. And I just talked about this the other day in one of my Facebook rants that I have been called to be sharing lately. But it's this idea, sometimes people will sell you on the idea that it's easy. Well, just do it my way and it'll be easy. Just listen to my advice, just ask the right questions and it'll be easy. And I went and looked up the definition of easy, and it means without challenge. And I think there is no growth on this earth that comes without challenge. And that's really what Look Up is. And that's what your and I's relationship even has been throughout the past, almost year that we've been working on this book. Is it has not been easy, but the growth that's come out of both of us as authors, publishers, coaches, mentors, mentees, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
No, I'm really happy you brought that up too, because, I hope maybe some of the listeners by then will maybe have grabbed a copy, but a lot of my chapters end with a quote or an affirmation. And the very last chapter, my chapter of the book, I end it with, never deny them the struggle. And this is a quote that my dad really raised me on, not only through my childhood, but through my awakening journey. Of a lot of times we want to not only free other people from struggle, but ourselves. I just don't want to have to deal with this. But when you really understand the purpose sometimes in struggle in life, not that it's not sucky, but what can also come with it, it's so important to kind of have value for those really tough times in our life, because they're kind of refining the diamond as much as it sucks to the 10 some days. But also I think that our souls would be so bored without it. What would we do if we had nothing to overcome?
Yeah, there's so many good quotes from you in the book. I mean, there's good quotes from both of us, but we're always better picking them out for other people, right? You talk about, don't deny them struggle. You also talk about allowing space for the people in your life to walk their own journey, right? And I think that's really what Allow Them to Struggle is about. And by holding that space for them, they feel safe enough to take the risks, to dare to ask the questions. And again, that's really what Look Up is about. It's about that conversation to provide a little light, a little bubble around people so that they can feel safety for 20 seconds, whatever they need, to just look inwards a little bit, explore that question. And then, of course, Dana, you and the Angelic Healing team, you're doing some incredible work and you're all over Canada and the US. That's right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Yeah. We've got a team here in local to us, and then we span almost coast to coast in the States with a little drops all over.
And talk about that team a little bit and how they're helping, because I know even you, the marketing, talking about marketing with you has been a struggle, because the Angelic Healing brand has always, they've gone with that flow of the right people will find us. And that is a strategy all in itself. I will say I will never discredit that. A lot of the things we see online for marketing, especially marketing our books, marketing our businesses, is when you have that deep drive to grow quickly. It's when you start to need to pull in these, I'm going to use the word artificial strategies. I'm not saying that they're fake, but they're things that we consciously layer on top of what feels easy, right? It's our growth strategy. But Angelic Healing, they're really just, for now, they've been leaning on that. The right people will find us, and it's worked. So marketing has been a fun conversation with you.
Yes. Angelic Healing is unesthetically pleasing, hard to find, difficult to navigate, and all of those layers on purpose. We have had the honor of growing such a community in a really organic way over the last, I think Angelic Healing, we're about to have an 8th year sometime around the corner. But yeah, so we don't push, we don't even our podcast, we don't monetize, we don't do anything. And I think it really comes back to the heart of just, we aren't here to convince people of anything. I'm not here to chase and convert and talk to and convince people of who we are or what we're doing. We don't work with any type of sort of traditional framework when it comes to counseling, therapy, anything along those lines. And I there's a moment even in the book where Larissa has her frustrating moment of dealing with me as the coach, because I am not here, and none of us are here to teach you what I want to teach you. That's not what it's here for. I am not here to give you framework A to B and say, do everything I did and your life will be wonderful, because your life is not my life. And nobody's life is the same. And so when we're teaching and when we're coaching, we will repetitively ask the question, like, well, what do you want next? Where do you want to go? And I always say that, like, my job isn't figuring out what's best in life for you. It's not telling you what the next step is. It's guiding you and coaching you to be able to find those answers yourself. Because when you get to where you want to go because you made the decision and you were confident enough to do it, that's everlasting. If you do it because I said it was the right thing, it's just wandering. It'll go, it'll leave. And the other really bad part of our business plan on the marketing side is we don't intend to ever develop codependent relationships. If you have to keep coming back to me every single week to live a healthy and fulfilled life, like, I'm not doing my job. I'll work with you for a time or a period of time, and I'll always be here. But, like, my goal is for you to go off on your own. And I think that I was reading it back in the final copy, and I kind of didn't even realize it was happening. But the book kind of takes that journey itself, and maybe a trained eye wouldn't pick up on it. But in the beginning, I'm sharing a lot, and it's more storytelling. And I kind of become more and more clinical throughout the chapters, really shifting the stage back to Larissa and her wins, because that's what the story is about. That's the end goal. It's about what you can do and what you're empowered to do and where you will take your light, not what I was able to accomplish through maybe some nudges on the way.
And I think that the book really progresses from very simple, and it's very important. I want to say this is a non-denominational book. We use the God, universe, source. We talk about angels and guides, and we talk about spirit animals, because there's parts where, my dog who passed a couple years ago shows up in a psychic reading. Like, there's really no limitation. There's nothing that was off limits, and there's no boundaries that we toed around, because that was the point, right? I was tired of feeling like I had to toe these boundaries in conversation because I had questions and Dana had answers. But in the book, we talk about the sticky notes. I want to bring that up because that is something that I frequently come back to now. So it's your methodology. So why don't you explain that a little bit?
Oh, I love this. I love that creating this project gave me a pinpoint on this ideology as well. But Larissa tells me, she says, you gotta tell your story. Like, what's your aha? How did this come to be in your life? And I probably sat with that for like a week. And I was like, I don't have a clue. I cannot sit down and say, like, this was the moment I got it all. And so I said, it was just throughout my life, like collecting these sticky notes. And then I'm a big metaphor person. If you'll read the book, you'll get it. But these sticky notes that I kind of just collect, and I don't really realize their significance always in the moment, but I know that they're important and I keep them with me. And then, I always kind of envision myself like plastering these sticky notes out on a wall, and it kind of comes together in this really artistic in my brain way. But my life is a collection of sticky notes and moments. And I refer to in the book of these sticky notes being seeds that blossom into gardens, and they might blossom now or they might blossom in 10 years from now. And it's really just me alluding to a higher point of just forever evolution. It's not one root in the ground because this sticky note meant this thing at this time, but now we're in a new project. So I grab those sticky notes and I put them over here, and then we create something entirely new, because this personal growth journey. And I think the way that I do it and the way that you did it, it's such a building block type of journey. Like, it's not necessarily linear, and you do what you can with what you know at the time. And then you learn something else. And you're like, wait, there's a sticky note around here somewhere that will fit perfect here. And then you bring it back into that kind of timeline of your life. So yeah, that was a fun one. And I'm very grateful for the book of giving that thought process words.
And I think that explanation is so wonderful because we use it in the terms of spirituality, right? Like our sticky notes are our questions about spirituality. But like if I think about our triggers, our boundaries, our inner child work, all, that sticky note work applies for everything because like you just said, if you're looking at something and you're like, whoa, hold up, I've got a whole file folder of sticky notes on this that I can go back to that now I have an answer for them. And so it takes time to collect those notes, those questions, those wonderings, those observations of who we are, why we respond the way we do, why we feel and believe what we do. And then eventually, spirit, something, a person in your life, whatever you want to believe is going to give you an insight that you didn't have before. And those sticky notes are going to connect and they're going to make sense.
Yeah. And then there'll be a period of time where they don't make sense again. And then they will make sense again. And then that's just like the impermanence of what is relevant in our life and with our journeys, because you almost have to allow yourself to do that, to be able to do it genuinely. Because to be honest, like there are many of times where I was like in my awakening journey, even in the later years, I was like, I'm feeling good. I'm in alignment. I prayed. I meditated. Like life is great. I stared at the sky for like an hour. It was amazing. And then the next day I wake up, I'm like, I don't get a damn thing. None of it makes sense. I have no faith today. I am confused because that is how it feels. And I think that more people have to be honest that that's what it looks like, especially in those really developmental times.
Yeah. And that's really what the book is. I mean, the book is, the time period that the book is based off of is about a 3-year window. It's 12 pages, 200 and some, or sorry, it's 12 chapters, 200 and some pages that cover key moments over a 3-year period. And it's really about understanding that, again, we never not have sticky notes. Everything is always going to keep coming back to some degree. And it might be one day you wake up and you realize things are good and things are great, just like Dana said, and you're like, I've solved this. Let's say it's a limiting belief that you have. One of my huge ones was trying to remind myself that my faith was my faith and that my faith comes from me. And one of the chapters, chapter 4, Forever My Nemesis of chapter 4, it's the last chapter that I wrote for this book because I tried so many times to write it. And Dana, in all of her wisdom, this might be where I show my most annoyance with Dana in the book, is like, maybe you're asking the wrong question. And I was like, damn it. Okay. But it comes back to that trust of self, right? And so like to what Dana was saying, like, one day I can wake up and I can feel amazing about myself. I am top of the world. I am going to solve all the problems. All my goals are achievable and I have spirit on my side. And then the next day I roll over and I'm like, well, I'm alone and I'm never going to get out of this bed again. That's just life.
Yeah. And still to this day, in all of my, successful moments, or what people would refer to as wisdom and higher self connection, and I am grateful for every single one of that, but I will never pretend that I still don't have those days. Maybe they're less frequent as they were at one time, but they happen. And a lot of people, especially in the spiritual community, will feel those and feel the need to suppress or repress those feelings because it means that I'm not spiritual enough. I'm not devout enough. I'm not faithful enough because I feel this way. So we shove it down. And we're not really dealing with the root of all those self-doubts, and not even just doubts in self, but doubts in the world and in the universe and in a higher power. And the only way to really be able to move through those properly is to sit down with them and to feel them and to be kind of sometimes consumed by your lack of faith or your lack of belief or your lack of trust within yourself. Otherwise, it just becomes this monster in the closet rather than just a thing. Oh, here she's back again. We need to have another tea with these negative feelings and talk it out, and then we'll send them on our way. But we have to do that, to be honest about it.
That's true. And I really want to dig into how you and I, as we worked through this book as a partnership, how we stepped into that role of support for each other to help us overcome some of those beliefs and those fears and those doubts. And but we're going to take a really quick commercial to listen to, so you can find out how to start writing your own business book. And then we'll come back in and we'll talk about how a partner really changes everything in this writing process. Are you hoping 2025 will be the year you write your brand-centered book? Or maybe you have a business book that isn't doing what you want. No matter where you are on your authorpreneur journey, we have the secret to your success, and we're going to give it to you for free. In our new book, Author Your Way to Your Next 100K, we share with you the formula and tools to guarantee your business book is a success. Within the pages of Author Your Way to Your Next 100K, you will learn from the expertise of a nonfiction publisher and the real-life examples of authors who have seen incredible success using our proven strategies. We're also going to give you access to our workbook, where you can tangibly assess where in your business a book can make the biggest impact for you. This book and the companion workbook are specifically built to help entrepreneurs like you write and sell a book that converts readers into clients with the power of artful invitation and deliberate storytelling. At Next Page Publishing, we believe in helping you achieve massive returns on your investments. Your time, energy, skill, and experiences are valuable, and you deserve to create a tool that matches your worth. This book is our gift to you. Visit nextpagepublishing.net/authoryourway to access your free copy today. Now let's get back to our guest expert. Okay, we're back with Dana and I as we talk about our new book, Look Up. And this book is really, it's different in 1,000 different ways. One, because it's such a candid look at spirituality, but because of the format of the book, where I write the stories and I'm asking the questions that led me to all of these wonderful sticky notes on my wall that I was staring at going, what the hell do I do with these? Seriously considering just lighting a match in the house and walking away, but I was too far down that road. I couldn't do that anymore. And then Dana comes in with her answers, right? She is the, and I'm going to put it in air quotes, expert, because can you really have an expert in spirituality? Probably not. But like we can sure try, right? Our humans, I think you talk about it, humans love labels. So we're going to put the label of expert on you. Dana comes in and answers these. But because of the style of writing, we went through the gamut in emotions, both of us at our own different times, right? Because I was tasked with writing the stories up front. I gave most of the stories to Dana and the questions in a bulk package. And I said, here you go, let's work through them. And then I could step out of the role of author and into the role of coach, and I could help her as the publisher a little bit more. But there were many moments throughout the year of working together where one of us was crying on a call. And I think, from your perspective, talk about that co-writing relationship, the coaching side of things, how that impacted the end result.
Oh my goodness. I think about this a lot. I first have to say how much that I commend and have such a deep admiration for the way that you were able to two-hat this journey. Because the answers that I was writing, and sometimes very direct, emotional answers that I was writing to you, were in response to your question, in response to your life experience. And so while I'm writing that, you switching into a coach to mentor my writing of the answers that the questions in your soul was such a duality that I have such a high level of respect for, because it was really amazing. But yeah, it was a very interesting process for me, especially just never have been through the author process before. This is my first book I've ever written, other than the stories I wrote in school. But this is my first official piece of work. So I think it was very interesting. And also, we were having such an intimate relationship in multiple coaching avenues. Like, you are telling me some of the darkest moments of this journey for you, and I was relating to many of those moments. I mean, you talk about your journey with mental health in the book. I have a similar journey with mental health, and there are topics like self-harm and pregnancy loss that come up in the book, and so there is a high level of responsibility of being kind of wanting to be very delicate and hold these experiences like a big glass ball, because they are that way. And I feel that way with any one of my clients. But at the same time, I'm not just talking to you. We're talking to a bigger audience. And so to a trained eye, like, some people would say maybe that answer is incomplete, or maybe there's more there. And of course there's more there. But I also had to deliver it in what Larissa of each chapter was ready to receive, to really honor exemplifying that coaching relationship the way we were trying to. So I felt like there was just a lot of duality going on. A lot of times we had to encompass multiple trains of thoughts and hats at the same time. But I have like goosebumps right now. I'm so impressed with like how we pulled it off. And like, there was sometimes I left with a chapter and I was like, oh, is she going to be mad at me? This one was a rough one, or not a rough one, but a really honest one, or a lot of really honest moments. And then getting a message a couple of days later, like, I'm crying, I love it. And I'm like, oh gosh, thank God. Like, at some point, I think this is difficult too, in my perspective, because there is almost always a time in a journey with a client that, like, on a coaching basis, I'm going to piss you off. Like, you are not going to like me at some point, because it's my job to make you feel things and sometimes pull out things that you're not yet aware of. And so becoming the bad guy, like, that's a normalcy for me. But I feel like we didn't really have any big moments, like maybe minor irritations, or just like, get the heck out of here. I need some space. Like, I need to go think about this. But I think we really worked in tandem in a really magical way, I feel like.
Oh, I do too. I think that's so funny. There was one spot in the relationship where I kind of ducked out because I needed to go deal with some personal things that were happening. And Dana and I had maintained communication throughout it. We were messaging back and forth, and, a couple times a week we'd check in, see how things were going, especially during the writing, because when you're writing, especially because Dana's a new author, right? Like, the motivation, that doubt can creep in and it can cripple a project. And it's one of the reasons I became a coach in the first place, is because I was sad for the people that had to write by themselves. But there was a time when we were writing that I had to pull back. And I remember sending a message to Dana, after like a week of silence or something. And I was like, just so you know, like, not you, not the project. And she's like, no, I checked in with you. Like, she's like, I sent my spirit feelers out. She's like, I emotionally and spiritually checked with you. She's like, I knew it wasn't me. And that's the sign of finding really good partnerships in this world, of when like, you saw me as a person, right? You didn't just see me as a co-author or a coach or a coachee, I guess would be the other word. Is like, you saw the whole person, and that's what this project is all about, is seeing the whole person and honoring that whole person. And at one point we were going through, one of my questions was about, I believe, about our spirit team, about angels and guides and things like that. And no, I'm wrong. It was about the higher self. I was talking about the higher self. And you basically said, like, well, this is what it means. This is what higher self means to me. But then you said, that's not what I think you're asking. What I think you're asking is this. And that was one of my key moments as your client, where I was like, this woman gets it. Like, this woman is able to separate herself and her opinions and her beliefs from the conversation and really just focus on what I needed as the client. And then I started looking at the rest of the book like that, and I realized how many times you did that. And I was like, oh my gosh, more people you need to be marketing, because more people need to find you so that you can spread that talent and that magic. It was an absolutely beautiful watch.
Oh, thank you for saying that. That is one of the highest compliments I ever did and have received to this day. And I think it's one of the foundations of everything I do, and why I think working as a completely non-denominational coach is such an interesting journey. Because I have no interest in convincing you to use the words that I use or have the same framework of faith that I use. I don't really even have one set of framework. It's a consistent evolution for me of what I need in that time. And sometimes there's religious components that get brought in, and sometimes there's not. Like, it's really something that I've gotten to create on my complete own. But I think that's also a lot of people's fear. And I think, again, a part of the original purpose that we talked about in writing this book is that when you are curious, it's not about choosing a box. It's about exploring all the freaking boxes and everything else in the misfit land to really compile the things that you want to build your belief system. And so when I'm working with someone who's Christian, or if I'm working with someone who is in an Islamic religion, like, it doesn't matter to me, because I have that openness, and which I want to be very clear, I worked at for a long time, because I write in the book, I had my own biases too when I came into this journey. I had my own judgments and fears and all of that. So it took some time, but to just be able to look at someone and hear them talk about their faith or their journey or their experiences and not feel it conflict with mine. Their belief system being right and wonderful doesn't make mine wrong. Right. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up in saying, no, it should be like this, because it invalidates what they believe about the world. And so listening to someone's entire belief story or hearing them use a word I don't wear doesn't invalidate anything for me. I can just completely like jump into their, I don't want a skin suit, sounds like the wrong word for this conversation, but that's the only one that came to mind. I'm just like, jump into the way that they look and just go forth with it. My dad always said, like, I don't stand with any one religion, but I can absolutely walk within them all. And I hold that in my heart very dear.
The skin suit, for those who are listening, I made this visceral face like, oh, okay, we won't be using that terminology. We'll be using the synonym lookup for that later. What is the alternative word for skin suit, please? But I know what you're saying, and you said it so beautifully. There's so much beauty in this book, and we're going to put all of the links to get the ebook, the paperback. It's all going to be down in the show notes, because it's truly an experience. And even if you're not on the spirituality side, I also want to highlight just the uniqueness of how this book is written. I have yet to come across any books that match coach with coachee, and they try and allow those two perspectives to come together. If you are considering writing your own book and you're like, I just don't know if I can come up with an entire book, well, then maybe you're not supposed to. Maybe you're supposed to be partnering with someone who's got questions and that has a little bit of talent on how to write, right? That's the whole point. All right, Dana, we are going to wrap up, because I think you and I could talk forever. I know we could. My last question before we end, well, I have two. Where can people connect with you? Because they need to connect with you if they have questions about their own spiritual journeys and growth and things like that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Easiest way to find me is angelichealing.ca. Keep it short and sweet. For more information about the book in particular, angelichealing.ca/look-up. There's a wide variety of stuff there. It'll direct you to all our socials from there. And I just want to say, not only thank you to Larissa for having me, but for having me on this journey. We talk a lot about your faith a lot, but you had a lot of faith in me in this journey, and it's something I very deeply appreciate. And if you are looking to adventure out on that journey, Next Pace Publishing is definitely the place to do it. I couldn't be more grateful.
Thank you. Okay, that brings me to my last question. You can't use the same. What is a piece of advice you have for aspiring authors, people that want to go down this journey, but they're getting hung up for whatever reason they might have?
Your story is your art. And when you think about an artist painting a picture, there are many layers that go into that in moments that they would say are mistakes, but you would not have the same end project if all of those things didn't happen. You know, if the erosion in the mountain wasn't there, it wouldn't look so pretty. And so be honest and try not to focus on making it all look good. Just focus on telling your story. That would be my
Yeah, you can hire people to make it look good. Your job as the author, as the creator, like as Dana and I went through with this book, our first and foremost, most important job was to get it out of our heads and onto paper. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dana. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in to I Wrote That. Don't forget to download your free copy of Author Your Way to kickstart your journey as an entrepreneur. You'll find the link in today's show notes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love for you to leave us a review. It helps more listeners like you discover the show. Until next time, happy writing.